Welcome to Shadow's Lair, a realm where the darkest tales come to life. Here we delve deep into spine-chilling horror stories, eerie folklore, and terrifying original content designed to haunt your thoughts. Subscribe if you dare, and let the shadows take you.
The Curse of Chandipur Woods. The small village of Chandipur, nestled deep in Odisha's dense forests, held an ominous secret. Locals avoided the woods after sundown, murmuring about a vengeful spirit that lurked within. They called her Najan Kali, the cursed serpent goddess, a guardian of a treasure no one dared to seek. Ajay, a rationalist and urban explorer, dismissed such tales as superstition. He had made a name for himself debunking legends and was eager for his next challenge. When he heard about Chandipur, he decided it was the perfect place to create his next video. Armed with his camera, a flashlight, and a GPS tracker, he arrived at the edge of the woods just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The villagers pleaded with him. "Babu, turn back. Even the bravest won't enter the forest at night. Kali doesn't forgive intruders." Ajay laughed it off. "These are just old stories to scare children. I'll be fine." The forest was eerily quiet. The usual chirping of crickets and rustling of leaves were absent, replaced by an oppressive silence. Ajay switched on his camera and began narrating, his voice the only sound in the suffocating stillness. "Here I am, in the infamous Chandipur Woods. The villagers claim a serpent spirit haunts this place. Let's see if there's any truth to their fears." The deeper he ventured, the stranger the forest became. Trees twisted unnaturally, their branches forming shapes that resembled skeletal arms. The air grew colder, and an unsettling smell, like decayed flowers, hung thick. AJ's flashlight began to flicker, but he pressed on, determined. An hour in, Ajay stumbled upon an ancient shrine. Half buried under vines, it bore a faded carving of a woman with serpentine eyes, her face contorted in rage. At her feet were offerings of broken bangles, charred incense sticks, and what looked like bloodstains. "This must be the legendary Najan Kali," he muttered, zooming in with his camera. "Just a relic of an old cult, nothing more." Suddenly, a faint hissing sound broke the silence. Ajay froze, scanning the darkness. His flashlight flickered violently, then died completely. The hissing grew louder, now joined by the unmistakable sound of something slithering through the underbrush. AJ's heart raced as he fumbled with his flashlight. When it finally clicked back on, the beam revealed something horrifying. A figure stood near the shrine, a woman draped in a tattered red sari, her hair wild and her eyes glowing like molten gold. Her lower half wasn't human but a massive black serpent coiled tightly around the shrine. Ajay stumbled backward, his camera trembling in his hands. "Who are you?" he stammered. The figure tilted her head, her expression devoid of emotion. Her voice, when it came, was a guttural hiss that seemed to emanate from everywhere at once. "You disturb my slumber. You seek what is not yours." Before Ajay could respond, she lunged. Her serpent tail whipped toward him, narrowly missing as he dove behind a tree. The ground beneath him seemed to pulse, alive with an unnatural energy. Every shadow elongated, reaching for him like grasping hands. Running blindly, Ajay tripped over roots that seemed to rise deliberately in his path. The forest had transformed into a labyrinth of terror, the trees closing in, their twisted forms whispering incoherent warnings. His GPS malfunctioned, and the camera feed glitched, showing brief flashes of a grinning face that wasn't his. The hissing grew louder, more insistent, and then came the chanting. A haunting melody in a language he didn't understand reverberated through the forest, filled his head, making it hard to think. The words felt like a curse, wrapping around his mind like vines. He turned a corner and stopped dead. Before him was a pit filled with bones, human remains gnawed clean, some still fresh. At the edge of the pit sat the serpent goddess, her gaze locked onto him. "You are the latest fool to trespass," she hissed. "Like the others, you will serve me." Ajay tried to scream, but no sound came out. The goddess raised her arms, and the forest itself seemed to obey her command. Roots shot out of the ground, wrapping around his legs and pulling him toward the pit. He fought desperately, clawing at the earth, but the roots tightened, cutting into his skin. As he was dragged closer, he felt a searing pain on his chest. Looking down, he saw symbols burning into his skin, glowing with the same golden light as her eyes. His vision blurred, and the world tilted. The last thing he saw was her face, inches from his own. Her mouth opened wide, impossibly wide, revealing fangs dripping with venom. "Welcome to my domain," she whispered, before everything went dark. Days later, AJ's camera was found at the forest's edge, its lens cracked. The footage was chilling. Flashes of the serpent goddess, the haunting chanting, and AJ's terrified face as he was dragged into the darkness. His body was never found, and the villagers claimed to hear his screams echoing through the forest on moonless nights. Shadow's Lair viewers, remember, some boundaries should never be crossed. The woods of Chandipur still hunger for trespassers. Will you be the next?